Hi guys. The most observant of you will notice we're in a new room with a new bed and not a new camera. Because I haven't got mine fixed yet, I'm sorry. I'll work on it, I promise. Promise. But today I'm going to be talking about something that's been on my mind recently. Very recently, in the last hour or so. That I know has been circling the internet and circling pretty much the world for the past few years. And that, of course, is Twilight. And I know most of my viewers will have turned off the video at that point. So to the ones of you that are left, today I'm going to be actually defending the franchise, which I know is not the thing to be doing in this day and age. But today I just wanted to kind of point out 4 quite detailed reasons why it's not as bad as everybody's saying it is. I mean, I know there are lots of videos out here that are saying, oh, it puts out a bad stereotype for women and glorifies this abusive relationship. Massive quotation marks with abusive relationship, because there's no abuse in the entire series if you just read it. And I know that it's like social suicide now to say that you've read the books or watched the films or whatever, but I actually have. And I would just I just want to get this clear in people's heads that it's not all like this terrible, horrible, cheesy things that should be hated and despised, and people who like it should be punished severely with fire. Maybe not that serious, but just wanna get this out of the way, okay? So, number 1 of my list of 4 really detailed points about why Twilight isn't good. Bella is written as this character that everybody sees as weak. And they all see, all these women who are reviewing this are seeing Bella as this really weak character who hasn't got any distinguishing features. I mean, people say, if you ignore the films for just a bit, people say she's not particularly beautiful, she's not particularly smart, she's not particularly, strong. And this is a reason that people are using to bash the whole character. They're using all these flaws that she has and saying that it glorifies people who have these flaws, and it glorifies the flaws in people, when actually it's a really well written character. The character of Bella is written as a sort of average character. She's not got any of these particular redeeming features. She's a normal girl who has come from like a sort of broken home, which I know a lot of people can relate to, a lot of girls can relate to. And then all this happens to her on the off chance, because she's not particularly redeeming, because there's nothing about her that would make any of this happen. It gives young girls a sort of feeling like they have a chance of having an exciting life or having this sort of true love thing happen to them. If it wasn't like that, if she was this beautiful genius, nobody would want to read it. Everybody would just bash it for that. There's no winning with you people, if I'm honest. Because either she's this flawed, horrible person with nothing redeeming about her, or she's going to be this beautiful, stunning person that's going to make women feel pressurized to be perfect if they want this perfect life. There's just no winning. Okay? Number 2. While the whole aspect of vampire in this film is written so that it doesn't fit stereotypes, people use that as well as a reason to bash it. They're completely ignoring the fact that it's original. Completely ignoring that this is an original take on vampires. Instead, they're saying this doesn't fit what we know vampires to be. They're not particularly badass. They're not particularly, gothic. And we don't like that. When, in actual fact, the fact that I think the whole sparkling issue is the main issue. The whole thing with them sparkling is it's enough to fit into the stereotype of the sunlight to address the issue of vampires can't go in the sunlight without it becoming a major plot flaw. If they burned to death every time they step foot in the sun, then they would have so many people bashing them for like the fact that UV rays are out all day in the sun, and then they wouldn't be allowed to go out in the daytime, and it would just completely wreck the story. It would be a major plot point, and it would take you away from the rest of the storyline. It's ridiculous. People are bashing it because the vampires in it sparkle when they're in the sunlight, when it's actually quite an ingenious way to take all this focus away from all these stereotypes that vampires have to fit into and putting it on a bigger scale. And I think that's a really good idea. I mean, yeah, there could have been more manly things for these vampires to do. Obviously they could have. But this is a really good way of saying, look, we don't have to burn to death in the sunlight. It doesn't have to be like this. Okay, number 3. The love story in Twilight isn't actually that bad, guys. Everybody's saying, oh, this is still a better love story than Twilight, and all these posters and all this shit on the internet, when actually the love story isn't that bad. The whole aspect of the story is what it's like to fall in love. I mean, yeah, they're a bit awkward. Sorry for burping. Yeah, they're a bit awkward, but that's the whole point. If you fall in love with someone, if you have a complete crush on someone, it's not going to be like, well, it might be if it's your best friend, for instance, but usually if it's someone that you've never really met or spoken to, if you fall in love with them or have a crush on them, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be awkward for ages. And I think the awkwardness works for the characters. The fact that both the characters have quite clearly got this really strong feeling, and all the couples around have quite clearly got this really strong feeling bonding them, is what makes it a good love story. I mean, everybody's saying, oh my god, it's glorifying this abusive relationship. There is no abuse in the entire relationship. If you actually read the books, if you watched the films, you would understand that there is no abuse. I know on one of them, one of the girls, I might post this, I don't know if this is going to go near that, but one of the girls has used this example of, from the book, there is a quote that says, "A drink he ordered, I sipped from my soda obediently," which, if taken out of context, yeah, that sounds bad. That sounds like someone's forcing you to do something and you don't want to do it. If you actually put that back in context, that was from the first book when she's been attacked in the alley, and she's in a restaurant, and she's been told that, and she's just been sort of going through the motions with him, all about how he can read minds and stuff, and that doesn't really sound like going through the motions, does it? But it is. About how he can read minds and stuff. You're going to forget to drink. You're going to forget to do things. And he tells her to do it because she needs a drink. He reminds her rather than anything else. I mean, yeah, the wording's a bit strong, but it's a very heated moment. If you read the context of that, you'll realise that actually, no, there's nothing abusive about that. There's nothing abusive about this relationship. This relationship is more about equality than anything else. The respect for both the characters is ridiculous. It's unbelievably high. But people don't see that because people pick out little bits of context. And they pick out little bits of the personalities and they just slam it. And it doesn't deserve it. It's actually quite a good love story. And that brings me nicely on to my next point. This might be my final point, actually. Yes, point 4, my final point. I have this all written down. Yeah, you can see. My final point is another point sort of about love, but it's about family. The whole series is very family oriented, and it's a really diverse range as well. Like, for instance, in the first book, the whole drama, the whole reason that right at the end she's put in this immense danger and she goes home and she sacrifices herself isn't for Edward. It's not for this guy that she's idolising, it's for her mother. She believes her mother to be in danger, and so she goes to try and rescue her. That's the whole reason she's in trouble. And the whole they could have easily escaped in the first book if she hadn't have gone back to make sure her dad was going to be okay. This is such a family-oriented film, and the different diverse ranges of love they have in this book, film. I said film, book and film. In this book and the series is immense. I mean, they have the love between a biological family, which is ultimately broken, but there's still love there. They have the love between an adoptive family. The love between the Cullens is an adoptive love with the parents. They have love between friends. They have the importance of friendship. And between the couples, obviously. This is such a diverse book, and people always look at it and just say, oh my god, this character is so weak and she's so horrible. She's not weak in the slightest. She is representative of a very average girl who's been thrown into this. Obviously she's going to have meltdowns. If you were in this position, you would have meltdowns. You cannot flaw a character who would not act in any way better than yourself. And I am not a die-hard Twilight fan. I'm really not. There are flaws with this book. There are flaws with the writing. There are flaws with the films. There are so many flaws with it. But you can't bash the entire series when, all in all, it's not that bad a series. It's quite good. You cannot just take this whole series and say this is all shit. You cannot just take this whole series and say, oh, it's really gay and horrible and faggoty and it just gives such a negative stereotype for women. I mean, anybody who knows me can tell you I'm quite a strong feminist. But I don't think that the character of Bella is anything other than a positive role model for girls, young girls and women. I think that if you look at it really, and if you really look through it, you're just dissing the fangirls. You are dissing the media hype around this whole thing. That's all you are doing. You are not dissing the thing. You're looking at it and saying, this is a love story, yeah. And some people, especially guys I know, will be looking at it and saying, oh, this is really gay because the guys sparkle, because the vampires don't drink real blood, because there's no killing, because of it's all this romantic gush. But you're just looking at it and saying, these fans are just 15-year-old girls. And you're looking at it and saying it's so awkward when you're not actually looking at it properly. And all you people that say, oh, I've been looking through and I've found all these meanings behind the text and really it's a horrible role model and Bella's not got a backbone and all this stuff, you're not you're not looking at it right. You're picking out what you want because it's got a negative image. You are trying to fit in because the whole thing has a negative image. I have just given you 4 reasons, 4 very detailed and quite in-depth reasons why it's not a terrible series. And I can probably think of loads more if I want to. You've got to take this into context, guys, and I'm sorry for the rant today, I really am. Maybe I'll get my camera working soon. I'm sorry, guys, I really am. Get my camera working soon and stuff. And I might bring you some happy videos sometime in the future. Yay! Anyway, have a good week or so, maybe. I don't know when I'm going back on here, but see you later, guys.